Today we have the pleasure of meeting the author of Girl Out of Time, Clyde Boyer. Clyde Boyer is the co-founder of Trinity Education Group, public speaker, social entrepreneur, and former farm kid who has spent his life working with underserved youth and migrant populations and building learning hubs in Africa and Latin America. Girl Out of Time is a passion project aimed at providing hope to today's youth. Hello, Clyde. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's great to meet you.
Nice meeting you as well. So, let's jump right into the book.
Okay.
So, what inspired you to write a book about time travel?
I did not set out to write a book about time travel. Actually, this was just therapy during COVID. So I figured, this is if I'm going to do anything to write a book, this is the time to do it. So the last couple of years, I've been involved in technology for most of my life, and you go from the farm into technology. And a couple of years ago, I started feeling like there was this hole in my life, and I realized that was my disconnect from nature. And I went back, as somebody does mid-career, they decided to go back to grad school for biomimicry. And when I went back to school in biomimicry, one of the things that you learn is to study nature in a very, very different way. And all of a sudden, when COVID hit, I realized I was looking around at the world around me, how much it was changing, and how much of the natural world I had taken for granted. And so I said, I really want to write something about the natural world in a meaningful way. And climate, of course, comes up. And then I thought, well, let me do an adventure, kind of an interesting mind experiment. Let's play out what climate change will look like 20, 30, 40, 100 years from now, 200 years from now. And then all of a sudden it clicked, I want to make a time travel story. And since I work with kids, and I've been working with kids for most of my life, I thought, this would be a perfect way to introduce the things that I love. Introduce nature, introduce agency for bringing about change and addressing climate change, and then writing something that was hopeful for the audience that I work for.
That's really good. Like, shoot, my COVID. I can't say my COVID to the experience was the same, but you used yours very usefully.
Well, it was kind of it was almost necessary. All of us responded to COVID in a different way. So I'm lucky. I live right next to a nature reserve, and so we started. My wife and I started observing things that we hadn't seen before, and it was like I didn't realize. There are patterns of like the bird populations in our area, and they move, and they almost like have a culture. There's like different personalities, and you don't see them, and you don't pay attention. And there was something else so I started doing my research, and the number of times that nature is mentioned in popular culture has diminished greatly over the last 50 years. And I think if we were to look at some of the issues that we have, we talk about social media as being an issue, one of the causes for mental health with youth, just the amount of stress. It's a lot tougher being a kid today, far tougher than it was when I was younger. I think one of those areas that we are not looking at enough is the fact that we're just not connected with nature that we once were. We live in such a mediated world that we have lost touch with just understanding the natural cycles around us. And I think that plays on our mental health.
And I feel like we take it for granted, like our surroundings and nature. We take it for granted because we're so used to it.
Right. It's just there. Well, we think it's going to be there. How long is it going to be there?
That's true.
And we see it changing before our very eyes. So that's something else. What are we going to do about it?
There is things we can do.
There is. And there's things that collectively we can do. There's things that individuals can do. We just need to figure out what those are and engage.
Okay. I wanted to ask a question. So, what made you decide to give Anna such a complex background? Like, she lost her parents. She had to start at school. Like, it was just she had a lot for a girl her age.
Maybe it's like watching too many Disney movies as a kid. If you don't start with trauma, then you're. I did know one of the things that I wanted out of this book is I wanted this idea of found family, that seems to be a recurring thing, and kids really resonate with that. And so I wanted to take Anna out of her comfort zone and put her in a place that was very different, a regenerative research farm. And her mother figure is a time traveler. So it's like for her to go through this journey and this path, I think I wanted her to start with them. You know, but the nice thing about this, unlike a lot, she had conflict, but she had a lot of support.
Yes, you did.
And she had friends, and she had people that were nurturing for her during this process. I think that seems to resonate with kids that I've talked to. It's good to have people understand.
So I can see this correlating with your actual life a little bit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of wish fulfillment in this book too, like flying.
I wish.
What else? I want a visibility cloak, and I want to fly.
Visibility cloak.
What you could do.
Okay, so which character do you feel like you relate more to?
There's pieces of, there's parts, right? I mean, there's not one character at all. Some of them are based on real people. So I did grow up on a farm. And my best friend growing up was a kid named Ricardo Gloria. And an immigrant farm worker, but grew up, did amazing things, became a lawyer and then became a judge. So Ricardo Gloria, the partner, was based partly on him. My Uncle Jack is based partly on my Uncle Duke, who was a leading soil conservationist for the U.S. Forestry Service. And one of the early voices early on that soil depletion is a problem that has profound impacts on us in the future. If we don't protect our soil, we're all out of luck. So this was in the 70s and 80s. He's talking about this. He traveled the world, talking about how to preserve soil. So that's another thing we take for granted. This very soil that we depend on. Right. And Mara, because she's sarcastic and she's tends to build lots of walls. I mean, there's part of me there too. And Anna is this persistence. So a little bit of everything, I think. And even Scout, the nerd as a kid, so I totally appreciate that.
So you don't have a favorite character?
You know what? I don't have a favorite character. I absolutely love a relationship with Mara. To me, it was far better than I had envisioned. It was, for me, it went to places I didn't expect, and it was far richer and better than I had hoped. I really cared for them, and I wanted them to land happy.
So, what are any challenges or obstacles you came across when you were writing this book?
It's the first book and I've been surrounded by writers. My mom wrote a book. My roommate in college was a USA Today, bestseller. My roommate after college was a New York Times bestseller. So I was like, I'm surrounded by people who wrote. I can do that.
Oh.
Evidently, it's a lot harder than you expect. But I also have a dear friend and my business partner was a shout out to Hugh Norwood. He was a MFA instructor at Emerson College, so he taught creative writing at one of the best writing schools in the country. So when I'm writing this, I'm like, what do you think? And I'm like, I'm expecting to be real to shreds. And he was like, this is far better than expected. If you don't try to get this published, I'll kill you. So I'll take it. So there you go. It was harder than I expected in some ways. The writing is easy. The publishing part is different. It's definitely a different world. But the writing part was actually a lot of fun.
Oh, so you breezed through that. It was just
it was COVID. It's just writing. What else am I going to do? I guess other people found other things to do. I decided to write.
Roller skating?
No, I'm not going to roller skate right now.
Okay, so what is one thing that you would like for people to take away from this book after reading it? First of all, I want them to be entertained, and I want them to have, as much fun as I have writing it. I really hope people take the same joy away, and the same sense of really caring for the characters and so on. That's one. But I mean, the problem with climate fiction is now I'm part of the Climate Fiction Writers League, which is great. And along with people like Cory Doctorow and people I really respect, is that climate fiction can tend to be pedantic, a lot of preaching, a lot of this is what you should do, this is what you should do, and I really did want to do that. But there were underlying messages throughout the story. One is that
the future is ours to make, and really it's truly ours to make, and we have to envision a future worth fighting for now. We can't be afraid of it. We can't be paralyzed by it. And so many of the younger generation, the kids that I've worked with, paralyzed by climate change. And that's the last thing we should be feeling. We should be feeling a sense of agency. And my feeling is if we get to the other side, we will get to the other side. When we get to the other side, we can be a more just society, a more inclusive society, a healthier society if we do this right. And that's going to require everybody to be engaged. So that's, this book is really about the future is for us to make. And it's going to be all of us doing our own part in our own way. And the second one is reconnect with nature, doing it in simple ways. Just understanding your local fauna and flora, and recognizing that you're part of something bigger around you is a really important message. And I think that came through in the story.
Thank you, Clyde. It's been a pleasure talking to you. This was an excellent book.
Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking with you too. This was a lot of fun, and I'm really glad that you enjoyed it.
Yes, it was an excellent read. And I learned so much from you, especially from nature. I was enjoying this talk. I didn't want you to stop talking.
It's so funny is that there's this AI. So some of the work that I do is in technology, and some of it's in AI. There is an AI service out now that will take your manuscript and determine a vividness score based on the senses that it evokes. And I'm on the 97th percentile for vividness, so I got that going, which is really nice. Which I thought was funny. It was well, that's kind of useless, but yeah. So evidently, all of the passages that were, the sights, the sounds, the smells of nature, front and foremost important.
Okay. Girl Out of Time is published by Girl Friday Books and is available now at Kinokuniya. Look for the link in the description box below to get your own copy.
There you go.